What does that housing look like? Some of you have probably seen me do this before, but yet this at the time reached eco homes very good. So code 3, maybe code 4. But how can that be sustainable? How can it be? Number one, buy-to-let properties aimed at single, with no the only outdoor space is that sloping bit of greenery. What use is that? One-dimensional, ugly, soulless, not aimed at who would want their kids? The average age of a first-time buyer prior downturn was 36 years old. Who would? And if you're at 36 and you're thinking about kids, you're getting reasonably close to when you're going to have them. How many people want their kids, their grandkids, to be brought up in that? But yet the National Housing Audit showed that 71% of all housing that was being built when we did that audit was an approximation of this. And only 29% was classed by the people that live in it as good or very good. Now, come on. And it was a significant bit of research. I was out running, and I've got a collection of these. I'm sad. I could show you one after another of these signs. Let's start going through that. Let's dissect it. This is in a quiet bit of coastline with a shingle beach with nobody living around it. Why can't you camp? Why? Obviously, it should be that you can have it where there's a local bylaw where you can't be a gypsy and stay there and set up home there. But why can't you camp? It's good fun camping. Why do we strip that fun out? Has anybody been wild camping in Sweden? You can camp anywhere you like as long as it's not private, on any council land, as long as it's not private and as long as you clear up after yourself. What's wrong with that? Why can't we give ourselves... Are we so much worse than the Swedes? Maybe we are because we're making ourselves. No dogs. Of course you don't want a dog in a play area. No ball games. Well, what do kids like to do? And what they're going to do after they've run in and out of those wooden poles for a while? Say no to strangers. Now, I was brought up to smile when you pass somebody. I brought my kids. If my kids had got caps, I'd have taught them to doff their cap as they walk past people. Isn't that human? Isn't that being a human being, to say hello to a stranger, to smile at them? There's a book out which I'd advise. Has anybody read this book? Do you like it?
Yes, excellent.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. 2 people look like they've read it. 3 people have read it. Do you like it?
I bought it on Saturday.
Right. Oh well, I know you're going to really enjoy it.
What happens?
No. I'll tell you one bit of it. Everybody should buy this book. You can get it on used. Did you buy it on used Amazon?
No, afraid not.
Well, if you get it on Amazon used, it's about $2.99 at the moment. You can get the used copies of it. It's a book about. It's by 2 health researchers, Richard Wilkinson and Katie Pickett. It's nothing to do with housing. It's nothing to do with planning. It's about health. If you can't read that book and find so much more than I've ever found in any book about planning in my life, then you never find anything. But one of the things that I took out of this book was it had a section on trust and trusting strangers. And in Sweden, I think, if I get these figures wrong, maybe one of you lot up there can remember it. I think it was in Sweden, 68%, or was it 88%? It's one of those two anyway. It's high, a decently high percentage of people implicitly will trust a stranger. What is it in the UK at the moment? 28. Where do you want to live? What kind of society do you want to live in? And is it just it's just British people? Do we believe that? Or do we believe that this might be something to do with the way that people are treated? With signs like that, with health and safety rules, with following rules, with ticking bloody government boxes. When the Americans can put on the front of the magazine, unhappy, unloved and out of control, of Time magazine, unhappy, unloved and out of control, an epidemic of violence, crime and drunkenness has made Britain scared of its young, what's causing the crisis, then we're in a bit of a mess if the Americans can do that. But they're right, because the UNICEF, we're bottom of the UNICEF study of child well-being in just about... In 40% of all of the things that are measured in that, Britain is bottom. It's unbelievable. What the worst one is children behind bars. 18% of our prison population are under 18. The next highest is 9% in Germany. What are they? Pardon? Lads. The future. And yet we give them 5 springy chickens to play on. we house them in a place with that feels like a prison. We encourage them through everything that we do in terms of not playing here, not kicking a football there, to go on to PlayStation. We'd all go out on a Friday, Saturday night in our town centres, giving it large in a Pete Tong style, stopping us going to Pizza Express, and we go to our gastropubs in the country instead, and damaging urban regeneration because we're not spending money there at weekends. But it's, you know, it all. There's a reason why it all happens. This is. I'll finish in a few seconds with. No, I've got 3 minutes, Cunt. Is that right?
Go for it.
Yeah. This is a little story about. We went to a council up north a few years ago and said, this is the kind of play area that we want to deliver. And they said, oh, Wayne and Jerry, we love your ideas about free-range kids, because we like the concept of giving freedom to kids and giving them the chance to fall and break a wrist. Because you learn, don't you? You know, like we all did. You don't learn on a springy chicken. You learn to get bloody bored. And they said, oh, but you can't do a play area that's covered in sand. And we thought it was about dogs doing their do and cats. We'll put a fence around it. We said, no, it's not about that. It's about babies will crawl around and eat the sand. And we said, that's no problem. We can replace it. It's only $1.99 a bag at B&Q. And then I sat them there and I said, and I typed in, child eats sand and dies. And do you know, Google threw up no... How often does Google throw up no returns? Try it. And just the last slides are just so you know that I'm not all mouth and no trousers. I have got trousers on. Very nice peg ones with a turn up. This was a site we took in Gateshead, bottom 3% of deprivation. The first street that we built, this was in 2003. Everything gets a garden and a communal space. Which people manage themselves. The table tennis table, the outdoor table tennis table, has been there since 2003 and there's been no damage whatsoever on it. This is a site in Dartford. We worked on the first phase where everybody gets a communal barbecue, and that's the community having one there. We never give anything to anybody. The land is planted. It comes on the back of a truck, and you join in yourself and do it. And what you gain from that in terms of buy-in, and what you gain from kids who don't even know which way a bulb grows, is amazing. I mean, you go back there and they're tending to it, and all this about we've got to give people this, we've got to give them that. There's another way of doing that. Look at what we've done. Look at what we've done with empty properties, called a project called Starter for 10 with Gateshead Council. It's worth having a look at. It's quite interesting, and we broke a lot of rules on that. Finally, we're spending a lot of our time at the moment. We've got 3 big schemes, which we don't believe in knocking down 60s and 70s buildings anymore. We've proven that whenever you do, nearly every time it happens, what's being delivered is worse. I really do believe. I hardly ever see anything better at the moment. I mean, it does happen. And so this is one of the estates we're doing in Aylesbury, pretty big estate. This one's in Maidenhead, called Even Load, and we are just taking it back to housing. And it's amazing what you can do by a bit of landscape and a bit of skimming, and it's working really, really well. And I think that's it. You know what not to do? CCTV cameras. Please type in. I saw this the other week. A list of countries who have the countries with the highest CCTV cameras, and the rate that the CCTV camera coverage goes up, the crime goes up. It's a parallel. It's a parallel. And guess who's got the most CCTV cameras in Europe? Jolly old Britain. Great, isn't it? I'm not going to talk about that. Building for life. Oh, and finally, an advert. Come to this amazing new event that we're designing called Vintage at Goodwood this summer. Have a look on our website. It's fantastic. Thanks for listening.